What's up, YouTubers? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about who would you rather have on your team, Russell Westbrook or Paul George. So let's see what they have to say about that.
I think most people would choose Kawhi and anybody else over the Harden and Westbrook situation. And I think Kawhi and Paul George, while we all agree Paul George isn't quite up to that level to be a number 2 on a championship team, I'm not sure that we think Westbrook is either. I think Westbrook is a good player in certain situations. Yeah, I don't think that. So you think Westbrook is on the level of Anthony Davis and LeBron James? Like,
He may not be on their level, but I would definitely take Russell Westbrook over Paul George.
Westbrook is on that dynamic duo level?
No, the record shows that that's not the case. No, the record shows that's not the case. In fact, I took the Clippers not because I thought, number one, LeBron was slipping due to age and injury, and I was wrong about that. And number two, I didn't think they got the details right, and I was wrong about that. But one thing that they obviously got right, which is the number one determining factor in the history of the NBA in terms of winning championships, they had 2 top 5 players on the same team. And that's how you win. Like, in the history of the NBA, almost never do 2 top 5 players not win the championship. It's not Westbrook. My favorite player, Westbrook. I love how aggressive he is at all times, how much effort he puts out. He's not a top 5 player, Perk. When he and Paul George were on the same team, Paul George was the best player on the team. By the way, indisputably, he was, till he got hurt, an MVP candidate, right?
Yeah, but both of those guys wouldn't be the front runners for any of my teams. So Paul George is kind of weak and he's inconsistent. We don't know what you're really going to get when it shows up from day to day. And Russell Westbrook can't shoot for crap, but at least he's going full speed. So you know what you're going to get with Westbrook. I think I'd rather have Westbrook than Paul George because I know what I'm going to get with Westbrook night in and night out. And I can get someone else to be my front runner while he is assisting.
So, like, you're talking about...
Yeah, Max,
you're talking about this... Yeah.
Max, that's because Russ deferred to Paul George because he wanted Paul George to go out there and be great. And if you look at it, that was the best season that Paul George had, but playing with Russell Westbrook, a guy that is an engine to a car. And we sitting up here downplaying how great of a player Russell Westbrook is. But if you were starting a franchise right now, you are not going to sit up here and tell me that you're going to pick Paul George over Russell Westbrook. That's just not happening. Paul George did not
Paul George looks really bad at this moment.
This season.
Paul George looks really bad at the moment because he had a very bad postseason and he has that reputation coming in. Most people would take Paul George over Russell Westbrook when they...
No way. I would definitely go with Russell Westbrook over Paul George. Like I said, at least you know what you're going to get with Westbrook. Westbrook is going to go real hard, 100%, and he's going to miss his shots. But at least I know he's going to show up. With Paul George, you don't know if he's going to show up. So you know if he's going to make his shots or not. So he's too inconsistent. He's too soft. I would definitely go with Russell Westbrook. Like I said, he's not going to be my front runner. He's going to be my second best guy on my team.
On the same team, Paul George was the best player. I agree with you about Westbrook that he's more of a team player than he's given credit for. But his playoff record is what it is. He's been paired with a lot of great talent throughout his career. He has generally underperformed in terms of where you would anticipate his team would wind up versus where they do wind up. And is James Harden better than Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs? No.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about would you rather have Paul George or Russell Westbrook, and I would take Russell Westbrook, even though Russell Westbrook has a low basketball IQ because he takes a lot of ill-advised shots and things of that nature. But again, at least I know what I'm getting with the Russell Westbrook versus a Paul George, who you have no clue what you're going to get from him from night in or night out.
Max, do I have to go back and revisit the Oklahoma City days? A closeout game in Utah where Russell Westbrook went for 45 and Paul George went for 5 points. Do I have to revisit those moments? Do I have to revisit that Russell Westbrook went to the NBA Finals and dropped a 40-plus against a Miami Heat team, although they lost? Russell Westbrook is battle-tested. Russell Westbrook has an MVP. We're talking about a guy that averaged a triple-doubles for 3 consecutive seasons. Before he got hurt, Max, before the pandemic, Russell Westbrook was tearing the league up. No one could stop him. Are we forgetting that? We were sitting up here debating whether it was Russ' team or James Harden team.
Yeah, and when Russell Westbrook was doing those triple doubles for 2 seasons in a row, that's something amazing. And it's almost like he normalized that to where it's no big deal anymore. But that's huge. Like I said, Russell Westbrook, you know what you're going to get with him night in, night out. He shoots for crap, but he can definitely take care of business. You know he's going to be going hard. And if I was going to start a team, I would take him over Paul George because Russell Westbrook is at least motivating. When you have a guy that's out there running and going full speed and doing the best he can, even though he misses, at least you got that little that burst of energy from that guy versus a Paul George. He could just not show up at all and do nothing for your team, or he could show up and ball out. I think I'd rather have Russell Westbrook going full speed and missing shots full speed and do what he needs to do. Like I said, he'd be my second guy. He wouldn't be my front runner, my number one player because he has a low basketball IQ and he can't shoot for anything. But I don't know. Let's continue.
But that's
All right.
another issue, Perk.